Right now, we go north of the state line today, and with us today, we have Beloit Turner head football coach Ty Kolff. And first of all, Coach, get ready for this new season. You guys start a week earlier than we do here in Illinois, so you're in full progress right now.
We do. We already started week 2 here. We're in full swing.
When you look at it, it's been pretty nice weather for your kids. Has that helped you out a little bit to get ready?
It's been amazing. I mean, these kids don't realize how lucky they are. We've barely even touched 80 at most of our practices, and when it has been hot, the clouds have been out and keeping it cool. Definitely appreciate that.
Let's look at the program at Beloit Turner. I know it's been one of those frustrating things for football coaches in the past, but last year you guys picked up 2 wins, and that's a multiple wins for the first time in a long time. That had to be a good way to at least get the kids going and figuring out that they can win when they actually get in there and play hard.
It was definitely nice. My first year, 2 years ago, I stepped up. We had a vacancy, and I stepped up. Took the job about 2 weeks before the season started, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. And that first season was just a whirlwind. Last year was, our first season that as a coaching staff we had a full year of preparation, and we had a much better product on the field. We got the kids to buy in. They worked really hard, and we got 2 wins, and we were competitive in a lot more football games, and that was the big step up. The year before, it had been a struggle to be competitive in football games, and we definitely stepped up last year. We're competitive in football games, and got 2 wins under our belt and a conference win, which was huge for our kids to get that confidence. Hopefully, and we're returning a lot of those guys this year, and hopefully we can keep that ball rolling and kind of just build some confidence and build on it.
So it's probably nice this year. You don't have to be installing anything. Everything's all ready to go, and you can basically get ready and prepared for the season.
Absolutely, and that's one of the big things, is that we already have our base offense, base defense installed, and it's just about tweaking, and me being a young coach and my offensive coordinator is only 26 years old, so both of us are constantly evolving with our coaching, and then our ideas and what we want to do on the field. So we're taking what we did last year and kind of looking at it, and we analyze in the off season and say what we need to improve on. Being so young, my philosophy on defense is constantly changing. And I know it's the same thing for my offensive coordinator. So, but we're taking the base that we had from last year and just building on it and trying to improve it. And I guess that's in your coaching career, you got to constantly try to improve your game.
And from doing my research on you, you're a Turner guy. So this is like, oh boy, let's go out and win some games for the alma mater, huh?
No, actually, I'm a Whitewater grad.
Okay. But you got your heart's in Turner, isn't it? I read a couple of things about you that you really like being a Turner.
I do. I feel like when you're part of working in education, I feel like I guess my personal philosophy is when you're gonna work somewhere, you want to take pride in that. And so I'm part of this community. I want this community to be good. I want every athletics program in this building to be successful. And I just take pride in that and take pride in the schools that I work in. So absolutely, I feel like I'm an alma mater here. I feel like the community's embraced me. I have a lot of friends that are alma maters, and I want so badly for these kids to be successful. They work hard enough. I just want them to be successful in everything they try.
We've talked to other coaches that have taken over programs that have struggled, and one of the key things is not maybe talent or ability. It's the fact that sometimes that mental thing gets in there, and one coach says we make one mistake sometimes, and all of a sudden they feel like the game's over with. Has that been a challenge for you as well?
It has, and changing that culture here, that's been the struggle. The issue that we've had a lot of times is just, one bad play happens, and, our kids kind of say, oh, here we go again, and they hang their heads, and things then can snowball really quickly. And, 2 years ago we saw that almost every football game. One bad thing happened, and the kids just hung their heads, and then it just got away from us. Last year I saw kids start to change that mentality. They started to believe that we could score at any time, and we could come back from a deficit. Actually, both the football games we won, we were actually down in both of those games. In years past, we would have just quit. And last year, we decided we're going to keep fighting, and we came back and won both those football games from behind, which is awesome. And I can't speak high enough for those kids. And this year it's the same thing. Last year we kind of made things a little. We decided we were going to kind of set the tone, and we made practice a little more difficult, held kids to a higher standard. And, we dropped some kids along the way. Mm-hmm. Our senior class, we started with 12 last year, finished with 4. Mm-hmm. We dropped kids, unfortunately. But the kids that were younger last year and the kids that are returning this year, it made them a lot stronger. So this year, I had in practice and the way we've been seeing, when they make a bad play, they're not hanging their head. They're kind of just teammates are picking them up and they're ready to go make the next play. And that's the mentality we need to have, and that's the mentality we need to see if we're going to start to kind of be more competitive and start winning some football games.
So you feel like you're a winner already, basically, is what you're telling me, right? With those kids.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our kids are learning lessons, learning not to quit, learning how to work hard, and learning when something bad happens in life, you just got to keep working.
Who are some of those kids? Who are some of those kids you're going to be counting on offense this year, Coach, at Turner?
Our quarterback is going to be, a third-year starter. He started a few games for us as a freshman. He's going to be, a junior.
Wow.
I'm expecting a lot of good things from Seth Smith. That transition from sophomore year to junior year can be a big maturity-wise, and I've definitely seen that in Seth. Last year, in watching film of our first game last year, you could just see that he was just a raw sophomore and he was nervous.
Yeah.
You could see him kind of making quick throws and trying to get rid of that ball. And this year, he's got that a full year of varsity football under his belt. Coming back as a junior, he's more confident. His arm got a little stronger, so I'm expecting him to have a very good year. We're going to be able to run the ball with him a little bit more as a sophomore. We didn't want to have him running the ball too much last year, but that'll open up our offense a little bit. Paul Larson, a senior, will be moving from wide receiver to running back, and he's explosive. He's the type of guy, if he gets in any open space, he could score at any time because he's just got that extra gear that a lot of guys don't have. Justin Hansen will be a very good junior for us. He's actually one of those team players that we're thin on the line to start the year because of some off the field issues and suspensions, but he's such a team player that we asked him if he could move to guard for weeks 1 and possibly week 2, and he said, yeah, no problem. I'll do whatever is best for the team. Nice. He's moving to guard. When he comes back from guard, he'll be our tight end, and he'll probably be one of our best top wide receivers at the end of the year.
And defensively, who's going to be stopping the opponent this year? I know that's a concern from the last couple of years, letting up too many points, but you could see during the year that your defense must have really improved last year.
Yeah, definitely. And it was constantly evolving. Trying to find which guys fit which personnel fit best on the field. And we were starting a lot of young sophomores last year. That first bit of varsity action is kind of hits them in the mouth, and they don't know what really hit them. But we're bringing back a lot of those sophomores as juniors, and they're going to be really tough. Justin Hansen, like I just mentioned, he'll be our Mike linebacker, middle linebacker, and hopefully he's going to anchor that defense in the middle of this, middle field. Anthony Babcock's a big junior we have coming back, and he'll anchor the defensive line. Gene Wright is just one of those kids that he's a wrestler, and he's just a tough kid. The kid that picks up the entire team, and so having him on the field is going to definitely pick up everyone around him, and so he'll be a big leader on defense as well.
With number-wise, a lot of schools are having low numbers. Will that mean that a lot of kids will have to go both ways at Beloit Turner this year?
Yep. We're no different. Numbers are definitely not as strong as they've been. We have 6 seniors, and every one of those guys will be on the field, and I expect seniors to be able to step their game up and play both ways. And then we'll definitely we're bringing some sophomores up, and those guys I'll try to limit to just one side of the football, but we're definitely going to have a lot of guys playing both ways, especially week 1 with how thin we are. But I think that the guys are up for the challenge, and we'll get rotations going and try to give them some breathers. But I think we'll be all right in that end.
And special teams, I always like special teams because so many times they can win or lose a football game for you.
Yeah, special teams were a bit of an Achilles heel for us last year. We didn't have a kicker, we didn't have a punter.
That makes a long year.
That definitely, and field position comes into play when you can't kick off. We had to squib. And I mean, we rarely kicked it past the 40-yard line of our opponents. So that hurt us. When teams only have to go 40, 50, 60 yards to score instead of having to go 70, 80 yards to score. That's a big difference. Luckily this year we have an incoming freshman who's a soccer player.
Nice. And
he's already kicking them near the end zone line, and he can punt, and so that'll definitely help us on the special teams end. We should actually see a much better field position this year.
And you're in the Rock Valley South. I know that one of your opponents is now the head coach over at Beloit Memorial, Rodney Whiting. You're probably glad to see him leave Bigfoot, aren't you, Coach?
I am. I mean, he's a good coach. He's going to do good things over Beloit Memorial. And he leaves a very, very good program that he built over there at Bigfoot that they're still going to be tough year in and year out just because of what he built. Our conference is going to be very strong this year, I think. I think Broadhead is going to be very good. They have a very large senior class that's worked really hard. I think they're going to be very, very tough this year. And I think even Clinton, Coach Spivak, over in Clinton's doing a really good job of getting that community energized and enthused about football.
And you open the season, I think a week from this Friday when we're doing this, against Cambridge, a non-conference team.
That is correct. And Cambridge is another, tough game that we want to try and schedule, a game that gives us a challenge to start the year. They're consistent playoff qualifier, and they're tough physical power football, and it's kind of a good challenge right off the bat to see kind of how tough our kids are. Last year they kind of, like I said, we were starting some sophomores, and Cambridge kind of came up and punched us in the face, and we kind of looked around like, what was that? And before we knew it, we were kind of, we were down big in the first quarter, and we settled down after that and played good football against them. But hopefully having a lot of those younger guys get a year of varsity under the belt, hopefully we should have a lot of success off the bat against them this year.
What is the goals this year for Turner? What would you like to see if I talk to you at the end of the season?
I just want to see our kids go out and compete. Like I said, I want to see mental toughness. I want to see us go out and just compete for 4 quarters of football. And I think if we do that, I think we can hang with almost any team. We have enough offensive talent and weapons that we can put up some points. And I think defensively, I think we can definitely slow teams down. But it's all about going out and competing. As long as kids are staying mentally tough and staying in the game and picking each other up, I think we'll be absolutely fine. We'll be able to compete with anyone out there.
So it's just building the program, and that's always a good goal for a football coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we got a lot of younger guys that are working hard, too, a lot of freshmen and sophomores that are working hard, and it's going to be about building them and just building this program up. Yep, we knew coming into this that it wasn't going to be, a 1-year turnaround. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to the kids about, it just takes hard work. It takes time. It's not going to be just a magic, 1-year fix. It takes a program, and building the program takes some time, and I think they all understand that, and they all agree, and they're all on board.
I had a friend that always told me, Coach, hard work ain't easy.
Right. That's absolutely true.
Hey, thanks so much for taking time today. We really appreciate it, and we'll be keeping an eye on the Turner Trojans this year.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dave. We've
been talking to Beloit Turner head football coach Ty Kolff. This is Dave Schmidt on the StatelineSportsHub.com.